Welcome to the Guitar Department. I'm your host, Joe Alton. Today, on this episode, we have bass extraordinaire Chris Matheos is here. Chris has published all sorts of books. He's got a band that we're going to talk about. He's been on the road for years. It's going to be a really good show. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Guitar Department. Yeah. And we are back, and I'm sitting here with Chris Matheos. Chris, thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So you sort of discovered our show through watching Mediacom in your spare time. And,
yeah, that's right.
And so you hit me up, and the big sort of headline here is that you have a whole bunch of books, method books, song books, this type of thing, that you have published with the publishing company Mel Bay.
Yeah, I've been with Mel Bay since 1995,
wow.
Which is a long run. And so it's 20 books with Mel Bay of all styles of music, you know, how to play bass, slap bass, different types of slap bass, two-hand tapping, the jazz, and just basic technique too. There's a good variety of books. It's a lot of fun. I've been with them a long time.
Yeah, I had the print music manager at Riemann Music print out a list and a summary of all of the books, and it's 5 pages long. There's a bunch that have come just through our system here at Riemann Music. How did you get started doing that? How do you become an author of method books?
That's a good question. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and when I got done, I got on the road pretty quickly. But then I learned the lesson of, hey, road gigs don't always last forever. And so, you know, I was between road gigs and I'd be teaching locally. And I just felt like we were wasting a lot of time with me writing things out for slap bass, because it's complicated. It's 16th notes, or two-hand tapping too, you know, 16th notes, and it takes a lot of time to write out. And I'm good at writing things out, but I felt like it was eating up the students' lesson time. So I just did a couple method books without an intention of getting signed or anything like that, just for the students. And I went to the local copy shop. I pressed them up myself, put the binders on them, and said, hey kid, buy this. You'll get way more out of your lessons, you know, if you're going to be studying that style. And then I'd walk them through the book. And a long story short, I was working a music educators conference in New York for Berklee College of Music. And that's like, you know, like a desk job almost at a music conference, working the table. You know, we got, here's a brochure, you know, they're asking questions about the college, and here's a sticker for your case. Next, sure. We got a big guitar department or bass department, and, you know, answer questions. And I got talking to the senior rep, Berklee rep, and he goes, what you been doing lately? And I told him, I just came off the road, and, you know, I did up this book. I happen to have it with me, and he goes, looks at it, he goes, this is great. He goes, do you know all the publishers are in the next aisle? He goes, come with me, kid. And he introduced me to the publishers, and a week later I had a contract in the mail.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Right place, right time, because I wasn't there to get signed. You know, it wasn't even on my mind, really. You know?
And it's actually, there's some good advice for teachers slid in there too. So I started teaching, I've been teaching for 26 years now.
Yeah, right on.
And one of the first things I noticed was exactly what you just described. It takes forever to write things out. And there are certain things that I teach to every student, so I would have them written out and I would just copy them off. I never thought to actually bind them together and charge for it.
You probably should, you know what I mean? Like, because, you've been teaching a long time, and, you would use it over and over, and it would be great for the kids too, you know, because they forget things too.
Oh yeah.
So if they take it with them, they can. Okay, I got it for practice. They can look in the book and double check they got the right notes. And
what sort of insights do you think you've come across having written this many method books, this many technique books? Has there been anything that you have thought of along the way that you might not have thought of if you weren't writing stuff out for everybody to learn?
Oh, that's a good question, and that's a hard one. You know, through teaching, I think you learn as an instructor, like, hey, students have trouble with certain things. Like they run into the same problem with left-hand mutes and slap bass. They often mute too hard and get note noise when they're supposed to just get a click. you know, or but that's the kind of stuff I more learned through teaching, and I have revised some books over time, like, you know, changed a few things, like, you know, oh gee, I learned something, you know, and I want to modify that, you know, and so here's what I learned over time. But that's a hard question to answer. I'm not sure I have a good answer for that one.
So, like I said, you've been making these books a really long time. Obviously, you're a player too. So, what sort of gigs have you been doing in the interim here? You don't just publish books.
Oh yeah.
Give us some road stories here.
Yeah, right on. Well, I've been a freelance bassist for, oh my God, it's since 1990. Early 90s.
Sure.
And I really went to Berklee College of Music with the idea of becoming a freelance backup musician. You know, that's a pretty crazy thing to do at 18 years old, to be thinking about, like, hey, you know, I want to be the guy in the background. I want to be able to play all styles of music. And I studied not to be the best bass player in the world, but to be the most developed and versatile bass player that I could possibly be. And I practiced like you wouldn't believe, like non-human hours, 10, 12 hours a day wouldn't be unusual. And when you're at Berklee, if you're not practicing on that level, you got a high chance of flunking out. You know, I mean, a lot of it was homework too, but it was, that was my mission, you know, to be a freelance bassist. And sure enough, right out of school, I landed a pretty major touring gig with a band backing up Clarence Clemens from the East Street Band, which, you know, for a kid
That's
without a lot of
first
stage,
gig.
yeah, and like for a kid without a lot of stage experience, that's really something. You know? I mean, what a learning experience.
Absolutely.
Good music director telling you, like, hey, all the really busy stuff you're doing, see those 18-inch subwoofers? It doesn't really cut through those so well. But if you're doing more solid parts with simple rhythms, that's what the audience feels. And, you know, it was just such a good education. Now, I love all the fancy and busy rhythmic stuff too, but there's a place for that, you know. And I think as a freelance bassist, or any type of freelance musician, you got to know your place. Yeah. Hey, my job with a lot of the blues bands I tour with is to play really simple, you know, and solid. And just lay it down as good as I can and as solid as I can, so that guitarist can shine and sound his best, you know, and that's my job, you know, and I'm good with that, you know. I don't need to drop some crazy stuff in the middle of that necessarily. If I did a lot of book promotions over the years. And a lot of endorsement combinations with the book promotions. And with that, I would play solo bass or duets. And that I'm going to stretch on. I'm not going to lay it down solid all night. I'm going to want to, you know, paint some color into there, which I wouldn't do as a backup guy necessarily.
Right.
So versatility in listening, and you know, it's so essential. And with experience, you learn a lot, you know, over the years.
On that note, so I've always sort of prided myself as doing the similar thing, but with guitar. I came up as a classical guitar player. I went to a local community college here that had a vocational music program.
Right on.
Studied jazz, classical, and then obviously I've been teaching for like 20 years as contemporary stuff along the way, the funk, the jazz, the gent, the rock music, the blues, all of it. However, I also teach bass. And I've played bass in some bands before. I am primarily a guitar player, and I promote versatility throughout guitar. I try to play everything I possibly can. I want to be as useful as possible as a guitar player. When I play bass, I feel like I'm doing it from a guitar player's perspective.
Oh, how interesting. Now, see, I have the opposite. With age, I've been noodling learning guitar.
Right.
And mainly as a composing instrument.
Sure.
But I did work in a cover band for fun with some friends. It was our idea of fun, and I was playing guitar in it, and I feel the same way. Right. It's guitar from a bass perspective.
So as a bass player, though, especially as one who has played some guitar, you can see the difference in the role in the band. That's the first thing any guitar player should understand, is that your role is very different as a bass player. You're not going to be doing necessarily the flashy stuff.
Yeah,
that you
if you're
might
not
be
in
as
a
guitar.
contemporary jazz gig, right, it's going to be generally playing in the pocket, playing very solid.
Are there any other obvious things that you can think of that I might have missed, or that guitar guitar players might generally miss when transitioning to bass that might help inform their bass playing a little more and sound more like a seasoned bass player rather than a guitar player playing bass?
Oh, that's an excellent question. You know, right hand technique's something a lot of people miss. And if I'm playing fingerstyle bass and I want it to be solid, I try to use my right hand as a tone knob. Now today right now I'm playing a very bright sounding bass because we're doing a lot of slap bass, as you'll see later. So, but I can change my tone. Oh, it sounds totally different back here.
Yeah,
if I want it big sounding, I'm going to play up here and play pretty soft to get as much low end out of the bass as I can. Now, you're probably not hearing that at home necessarily, or if you're online on a laptop, you may not hear that much detail, you know, on a phone or something. But in person, you can hear a big difference. And so I move that right hand around with a lot of song form awareness too. Okay, so let's see, I'm in the mid-range. Guitarist who was playing rhythm guitar goes solo and there's no rhythm guitar. I'm going to go for the fattest sound I can and the thickest sound I can. Now I'm not sure if you can hear the difference next to, see, more high end. And there's way more high end back here. When I go to solo, I'm probably going to move back here more, especially if it's something quick.
That's excellent. Okay, well, I have one more question for you. I want to talk about this bass itself.
Oh, yeah.
It's got sort of, and so I'm playing a jazz bass that I took from the walls of Riemann Music. This is one is the nicest bass they had there, and so I wanted to have something that would at least hold up against a seasoned bass player's bass. You're playing a Marcus Miller V7, it looks like.
Yeah, it's a great bass. I'm not like their endorsement guy on these. I'm actually a Lakeland guy.
Okay.
But you know, I like this bass a lot and I play it a lot. It's a great cheap bass.
Yeah.
Like $550.
Okay.
The electronics, the controls on this are more like a $2,000 bass.
Okay.
And
I was gonna say, has this been modded much? You got 5 knobs.
Yeah,
and
believe it or not,
toggle.
that's how they come. It's pretty crazy. I had a student show up with one once, and I tried it out, and I'm like, wow, what a great bass. And it was the end of the year, and I'm like, you know, I need a tax write-off. And so I got one, and I was thinking to myself, that much electronics with that fancy a setup is not going to be roadworthy. There's no way.
2 of those are double knobbed, aren't they?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and so yeah, mid-range sweep on top of it, and you'll hear it. It's extreme. Yeah. I didn't think it would be roadworthy, and I've taken this thing all over the planet, and it's been bounced around on planes and trucks, and yeah, it's held up. I'm surprised, you know.
How do you dial in a tone on something like that? There's so many options. I would be sitting there in a padded room just playing with it for hours.
Well, there's a passive active switch too.
Okay.
So if I'm playing rock and roll, I'm going to go passive probably and go for the thickest tone I can get.
So
right now it's on active, so it's
that's
super
not
bright.
the Leland Sklar producer switch then.
No, really,
you're
it's
familiar
not.
with that story.
It's not. Yeah, yeah. Though that's a great idea. All instruments should have one of those. You know, that's a fake switch for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, Leland Sklar, session bass player, would the producer would say, well, we need a slightly different sound. And he'd just make sure that they watched him flip the switch, and then just as you described, he'd change his hand position a little bit.
Lee had a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
And so that was his sense of humor.
And the switch wasn't
at work.
attached to anything. It just
Yeah, because producers
for
are
the producer's
notorious
sake.
for asking you to do another take, and hey man, I played it the same way 3 times, but you know, you nod and go along with the program, and you know, Lee would hit a switch that didn't do anything, and the producer would go, "That's it, that's the one."
That's the one. All right. Well, I think we're going to have to move on. Would you stick around and show me a little bit of slap bass?
Oh, I'd love to.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here so much, Chris Matheos, everybody.
Slap bass.
Check that out. We're back once again with Chris Matheos, everybody, and you're going to take a second and show me how to do all that, right?
You got it, man. You got it. Well, slap bass has a long history. That's pretty interesting, and I'll summarize it quick. It's been around at least since the 1920s that I know of. The earliest recordings I've heard, Paul Weston Big Band. I kid you not, New Orleans Big Band that featured slap bass solos. I mean, it was pretty early on, late 20s, early 30s.
Okay. Because you hear all the time about Larry Graham and the sort of Sly Stone, you know, how that was sort of the genesis of it in the modern era. Is that inaccurate, or is there more of a history behind it?
Well, it was in the country music too, because at the Grand Ole Opera they didn't allow drummers early on, and the bass player would create the 2 and 4. And hey, maybe it was because here's a 2 feel we call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, a bass player on an upright bass. I hope I'm not peeking you guys out there audio-wise, but they would create the offbeats to keep the time better because there wasn't a drummer there. In New Orleans, it might have been more high-tech jazz changes. And I should have brought my upright to demonstrate. It's fun. It's fun to do on upright. But yeah, when it got into the electric, you are talking the early pioneers of electric slap, of Larry Graham, and I honestly think they couldn't hear themselves. The amps weren't so great for bass in the late 60s, early 70s. Not a lot of volume and clarity. And a bass player would probably be struggling to hear themselves in a large band like Sly and the Family Stone. So, you know, they might be hitting the string with their thumb to get a little volume. Larry Graham, getting into Louis Johnson, he took it a long way. There's some work of his with Herbie Hancock in the 70s that's little disco influence with it. And that's what we call old school slap. And what we're using is thumb strikes to really get some volume out of the string. I'm striking with this bone on my thumb, right about here.
Right on the knuckle there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm striking it as if a little, like it's a hammer, where I'm hitting down on that top fret there. And I want that string to ring, so I lift it out, but it almost bounces out like it's a hammer.
So are you
Go ahead, give that a
purposely
shot.
doing that up by the fret then?
Yeah, correct.
That.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. Yeah, see how that string moves around like that?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you want that string.
And so the slapping sound that you're actually hearing isn't the thumb hitting the string, it's the string hitting the fret.
You know, I kind of agree with that. You know, that's what you're hearing with what we call a thumb strike.
Yes.
Now, what I'm going to show you today, there's a lot of things going on in percussive slap bass. That's a more modern technique, and that's what I specialize in. Percussive slap uses percussive mutes mixed with standard thumb striked notes. There's something called a pop, where we'll take an index finger, curve it, and I'm going to play 7th fret of my G string, that's a D, and I'm lifting off the face of the pick guard, lifting that string right up.
And again, so the pop is the string actually impacting the fret.
That's right. And so you might get something like, that's thumb on the open E, popping a D on the 7th fret. And when I pop, I'm not on my fingertips necessarily.
Yeah, I noticed that. You're flattened out like this, aren't you?
Correct, yeah, flat in the left hand. And you'll see why more when I show you the mutes of this technique. But I just squeeze, so I'm actually playing that note down here. The string's down here instead of on my fingertips.
That's interesting.
So I just squeeze. Give that a shot.
So 7th fret, curled up like this.
Yeah, nice flat technique,
Lift
looking good.
just the tips off like that.
Yep.
But not the whole.
Awesome.
And then I got to double up on the mute so I don't get a harmonic.
Well, it is easy to get a harmonic, but usually it's 16th note grooves. We'll get so busy that there isn't time for a harmonic to hang around. You know what I mean? A harmonic being an overtone like that.
So right now we've got a quarter tone. Or a quarter
Correct. Correct.
1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Very good technique. And that's, our thumb. That's our pops. Okay, now let's add some mutes to this.
Can't wait.
And with the left hand, what's a Vulcan do on Star Trek?
Woo.
Okay.
As I say, you ever do the Newton's
This
cradle?
is the mutant Vulcan, I'll call it. And I'm viewing these 3 fingers as one flat finger.
Okay.
And the index finger, I'm going to put over the A, D, and G string. So that could be anywhere on the bass. That doesn't matter. And then these 3 fingers come down and get a little click, but not too hard, because otherwise you'll get a note. You don't want to get a note, you want to click. Just like that. And I leave it on there after I do it. Okay, so flat as a board. Watch this. I'm going to do a thumb strike, open E. Very good. And you're anchoring your index finger, which is so important. That's really good technique. When people start, if they're having trouble, they're usually lifting that index finger off, because it's kind of it's an odd motion to get, it takes a little minute to get used to.
It does take, so you can tell that I've played guitar and bass for a while, but yeah, that lifting just 3 fingers off, well.
Yeah, it takes a little getting used to, for sure.
I'm also noticing that I can't, if I'm over squeezing, it helps that my finger isn't up next to the fret.
Right.
It can be, the further back it is, the more likely you are to get a click out of it, maybe.
And flat as a board helps with the click too, which your technique looks really good. Let's add a third note to it now.
Yeah.
And this is a new type of mute. Instead of a thumb mute, which, hey, with a mute, you'll see an X on a note stem, and underneath it, we'll put a letter. T's for a thumb strike, L's for a left hand mute. So I've got a open E, left hand mute, and I'm going to add a third note. And that's a thumb strike, but I left these fingers resting on top of the strings.
Right.
So all you hear is a click. Very good.
So
let's add that together, and you get this. And that's right, left, right. Very good. Really good technique. See how flat his fingers are? That's what you're looking for at home if you're trying this out.
I'm still squeezing too hard, I can tell.
It takes a little while to get used to it. That's pretty good. That's looking good. Okay, so some people would say, wow, it sounds like triplets. And you could do it as triplets. 1, 2, 3, triplet, triplet, triplet. That's up to a quick speed.
So are we adding that pop back in there?
We're getting there. We're getting there. Let's make it an 8th note groove, though.
Okay.
And we got 3, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do that twice. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then thumb left.
Okay.
Okay, so I didn't do the third note,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's 8 notes. So we want the time to be even. 1, 2, 3, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right. Look at that. A+. That's really good. Now I would add potentially a hammer in the place of the last 2 notes.
So,
Take your pick. 5th fret to 7th.
and you're
Very
still,
good.
You're still slapping that, or are you plucking that?
Yeah, no, I'm thumbing that too, and it looked great. Yeah, really good. And you can alternate those two with the open string and the hammer the second time. Very good. You can change up the hammer notes. You could also do,
Okay.
and that's a
Just
hammer,
jump
5th fret to 7th on the G string. I pop the first note on the D, and then hammer the 7th. And so
And that's gonna
1,
be the
2,
octave.
3, 1, 2, 3.
Now, do I have to move up? I can still
Yeah,
do that
we do have to
down
do
here.
some shifting, and I'll do a lot of pivoting, like that kind
Oh,
of
so
thing.
your thumb's way down there. Isn't it?
Oh yeah, I keep my thumb down low. And I keep my thumb down low when playing most things to curve the fingers to get the maximum stretch out of my fingers. And that's something as a bass player that I'm always thinking of. I play upright bass too. And that's something that can help, say, a guitar player transferring to bass too, is drop that thumb down a little, it'll open your hand up, and you can get maximum reach. And even if we're playing flat, I'd still drop that thumb down.
It's nice.
Pretty cool, right?
All right. Well, we're going to have to wrap this up, but
yeah.
I really appreciate you showing me that. That's a pretty cool... I'll have to work
you're going to get good at it. I'm confident. It sounds great.
Thank you so much for being here. Would you stick around and jam out with me for a little bit?
Oh, you bet.
All right. Chris Matheos, everybody. And we're back once again. I'm sitting here with Chris Matheos. That is a really interesting bass you're holding there. Is that a short scale Les Paul Gibson bass?
Short scale Gibson Les Paul. This is one of the modern ones. They did make them in the 70s too, but I have flat wound strings on it.
Nice.
And I'm going to play more of a support role when we jam here, where I'll be palm muting the notes. So a much bigger sound and not bright at all.
And
you know?
So one of the things I learned about you in researching for this interview is that you have a Doors tribute band called the Door Jams.
I do. You know, keeping a story short, I was playing up in the San Luis Obispo area of California, and I got up there early, and I had lunch with a friend who lives up there, and he plays as a backup guy too. He's a keyboard player, and we're talking. I go, "What you been doing lately?" He goes, "Oh, I've been playing with someone horrible. You know, I mean, they're great players, but they're mean." I go, "God, I'm playing with kind of a mean guy too. This trip. We should just do what we want, and like play with cool people." And so I go, "What would you do?" And he goes, "The Doors." And I go, "Me too, man." And so anyway, we started up a band called the Door Jams, and we play a lot of Doors. And he does Morrison and Manzarek. That's the vocals and the keyboards live. It's mind-boggling. He's working real hard up there. I play guitar in the band. I play bass sometimes too, depending on who's around. Because they're all touring guys. They're hard to get. So.
Well, do you want to play a Doors song?
Yeah, let's do a Doors tune. When I heard you play Robbie Krieger,
I love some Robbie Krieger.
I'm in. Yeah. All right. Oh yeah. The cars hiss past my window like the waves down on the beach. The cars hiss past my window like the waves down on the beach. I got this girl beside me, but she's so out of reach. Headlights on my window, shining on the wall. The headlights on my window, shining on the wall. Can't reach my baby, though I call and call. Oh, play me some blues. Windows started shaking with a sonic boom. The windows started shaking with a sonic boom. old girl will kill you in a darkened room. All right.
Well, thank you for tuning into the Guitar Department. I've been your host, Joe Alton. I want to thank my guest, Chris Matheos. Chris, thank you so much for being
Joe,
here.
thanks for having me, man.
How can our audience find your entire library of books and all the stuff you've got going on? How can we follow you?
You can find it at chrismatheosmusic.com. That's Chris, Matheos, music.com, just in case.
So be sure to check out chrismatheosmusic.com, and thank you again so much for being here.
Thanks for
This was
having
just
me.
so much fun.
And hey, thanks for keeping music alive in Iowa.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, it's
got to be everywhere.
You said it.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/The Guitar Department and Instagram at guitar_department. And we'll see you next time right here on The Guitar Department.